In today's video about whole life insurance, we'll be looking at a policy for the grandparents that was started 5 years ago. We'll see how they started their policy and how they plan on leaving money to their children, but more importantly, their grandchildren. Just kidding, kind of. Today's video, we'll discuss a policy that was started for a grandparent starting at age 65. You'll see that we started back in 2019. The plan is to leave money for the family, the kids and grandkids. But what we'll look at specifically, firstly, is how the policy was set up, how it's performed over the first 5 years, and then options moving forward to see if grandma and grandpa want to have more cash value for themselves with their policy, or if they'd like to leave a larger death benefit to their children. And what we'll look at is how they can accomplish one or the other without paying anything else into the policy. So this will be a really good case study to see a whole life insurance policy where I funded it for a short period of time, and then I can look at things moving forward and decide down the road what lever I want to pull on my policy in order to either A, get more cash value, or B, leave more death benefit to the family. So let's go through the facts here. They started their policy back in 2019. Starting age was 65 for grandma. I've mainly worked and spoken with grandpa. Grandpa's name is Mike. He took a policy out on his wife just because it made a lot more sense. She was healthy. He could have gotten a policy, but had some health issues, so it made the most sense to put it on her. And the plan was to fund the policy for 5 years. They've done that now. So they funded 2019, 2020, 21, 22, and then 23. We're about to enter 2024, and he's done. He said, I do not want to have to pay more money into it. Maybe a minimum amount down the road, but my plan was 5 years, Steve, so I want to be able to stop. So she's 70 years old now, grandma that is. And the total out of pocket they've moved into the policy is $250,000. So they funded $250,000. You'll see exactly how they got that money in. It's pretty cool because they adjusted their funding as the years passed. Their goal when we first set up the policy was cash value. They're interested in whole life insurance for the cash value benefit, but the death benefit was important as well. Where we started that death benefit at was the minimum dollar amount in order to be able to pay $50,000 per year. So that has to do with the MEC limit in a life insurance policy. So they had a target amount. They knew how much they wanted to move into the policy. And really what they asked, or what their goal was to get this dollar amount in, maximize the cash value, start the death benefit at the minimum, but let's see what it looks like if we don't reduce it later on. Because what you'll see is you can elect to reduce the death benefit even further when you're not paying anymore in order to maximize the cash value growth. And we mentioned this piece, he does not want to add any more money after the $250,000. And again, he's already gotten that money into the policy. So the question is, which is more important to you? And that's what I would ask him. When I asked him and showed him the options you're about to see here, which one's more important? Do you want a high death benefit, which is money for the kids and the grandkids, or do you want more cash value, which is more money for you? Well, which one's better? How much more death benefit do I get? How much more cash value do I get? Can I see them side by side? The answer is yes. And what I'll also add is he's funded the policy for 5 years. He's about to begin policy year 6, where he's not going to pay in anything. The earliest he can decide, really if he wants the high cash value option, will be policy year 8. This has to do with the MEC laws, which is that taxable line on a life insurance policy. You'll see exactly what I mean when we pull up the illustration. So let's take a look. We're going to focus on Excel, but just to begin, here's the actual illustration we based this on. So if you have an existing policy, it will look similar to this. Different companies have different formats and such. But what I want to hit on here is the fact that he's in policy year 5. 70 years old right now. You see nothing in the annual outlay column because he's already funded it. Beginning year 6, we've got nothing going in forever. This guy, this $6,700 and change figure, is the minimum premium. So remember where money can go with a life insurance policy? We can pay it toward the premium or the PUA rider. So they stuffed the PUA rider for the first 5 years of the policy. Now, beginning year 6, they don't want to pay anything into the policy. So what we'll do is reduce the PUA to 0. They can add more if they'd like. But then with the premium, we're going to elect the dividends and interest to pay that premium for us. And when we do that, we want to make sure the cash value continues to grow. So let's look at a simplified version of this, shall we? This is how we track policy performance for folks we work with. Started back in 2019. She started at 65. At the end of the first year, she was 66. That's why we see 66 there. We see the minimum premium, but then what they actually funded the policy with. First year, $25K. Total out of pocket is going to tally up all of the payments they've made collectively over all years. So year 1, $25,000, because that's all that they've paid. Cash value, just about $17,000, and the death benefit was set at $620,000. Kind of an oddball number. Again, where we came up with that is that gives them a MEC limit of $50K. So that's the most they can pay in each year. Year 2, how much did they fund? The minimum was $6,700, but they funded $50,000 that year. Total out of pocket is now $75,000. Total cash value, $59,000 and change. This is the worst part of a whole life insurance policy, by the way, the first 2 years, because you've got significantly less than what you've paid in. Yes, you've got a decent amount of cash value, but it's less than what you pay in. When people ask, what are the drawbacks about whole life insurance when the cash value is maximized? It's still the upfront years. Year 3, $75K goes in. The MEC limit's $50,000. How did they get $75K into the policy in year 3? Here's how. So with the MEC limit, that is $50,000 per year. In year 1, how much did they pay? $25,000. Their MEC limit was $50,000. So what that means is they had $25,000 of unused MEC space. What happens with the MEC limit is unused space will roll over year to year. So what that means, year 2, the MEC limit reset at $50K plus 25 from the prior year. So it was $75,000. They paid in $50. So they still banked on that extra $25K from year 1. Year 3, he said, okay, I want to make up for lost time. Let me throw the $75K in. It gets me back to my original plan of getting $150,000 into the policy by year 3. Hope that made sense. So he's back to $150,000. We must have missed a couple pennies there, but that's okay. That did not bother him that much. And then what do we see? $50K, years 4 and 5, where he's paid in $250, cash value, about $242, and the death benefit is still what? $620,000. What's happening with the policy is the whole life death benefit is increasing, but we've got some term attached there too. I might hit on that in a little bit just so you have a visual, but let's start with this. Okay, so what we've got going on here, year 6, which is happening in a couple days. The premium is $67.13. That premium is due until age 100. It's shaded in this red color because we are not paying it. What's happening here, our actual payments are 0. Our dividends and interest are supporting that premium. When I say dividends and interest, I'm talking about the guaranteed piece and then everything above that. So dividends is everything above the guaranteed piece. Interest is the guaranteed piece when I say that. So the policy's covering the premium. Everything else kicked back into cash value. So it's growing. And my death benefit's still at $620. Stays at $620 for a long time. At age 85, you're still there. Eventually, it does increase. But in this policy, or in this illustration, we're assuming 0 out of pocket forever. However, he does have the option to add more money if he wants to. Some years, he can elect to pay the premium. Maybe when grandma's 72, grandpa says, let's pay the premium this year. We've got the extra cash, let's throw it in there. What'll happen, you'll see it credit the cash value, and it will result in the death benefit increasing earlier too. So if he keeps this option, which is the first option, a higher death benefit, more money to the kids and grandkids, we see the death benefit never drop at any point in time. Let me explain real quick why the death benefit's level, but eventually goes up, just with that term rider explanation. So how you can set up a whole life insurance policy. If we go back to day 0, before they paid anything into the policy, their death benefit was $620K, which consisted of this $155,000 in whole life insurance, and then this $465,000 in term insurance. As you add money into a whole life insurance policy, specifically through your PUA rider, which is what maximizes the cash value, your whole life death benefit increases. Adding PUAs increases your whole life death benefit. How you can set up a policy, which I like doing it this way because it builds in a ton of flexibility and maximizes cash value, is like this, where you've got this term insurance rider here. So day 0, you're at $465,000 in term. Policy year 5, how much term do you have left? $65,000 in change. Not that much. So what's happened is your whole life death benefit has increased almost to the full 620. You've got a little bit of term left that eventually naturally expires. If he pays more money in, that'll expire the term faster. It expires by age 99. So going with this option, she's going to leave likely $620,000. Okay, term comes down, whole life goes up. Let's look at option B, which is more cash value to them. So here we go. It's the exact same illustration. The policy is already active. This is a change you can make after the fact. And this is the kind of stuff we discuss with people we work with years into having the policy. So already funded, years 6 and 7, that premium's still due. Remember on the whiteboard where we mentioned year 8 was the earliest we could decide? So year 8, which would be in 2026. What do we see here? Premium's gone. What we exercised here is an option that eliminates the premium. It's an option. Why I say it's an option, and I've said it 3 times now, is because if we submit a policy to the insurance company with this option exercised, it will not automatically happen. We have to make that change in year 8, so we would need to discuss it. We're discussing it in advance during our review meetings, but discuss it every year. And when year 8 comes, if he says, hey, I'd like to exercise this option, then we would submit the paperwork to eliminate the premium. What eliminating the premium does is get rid of it. So even if you want to pay anything, you cannot. So now you forfeit your ability to add more money into the policy. What else do you notice here? What happens to your death benefit? It drops as a result of eliminating the premium. The question is, what do I get in return with this option? Because you can see the death benefit increasing over time. You see it climbing up. Let's take a look here. So we've got 2 columns, a cash value difference column and a life insurance difference column, which is just going to show you how much more or less you have in cash value death benefit with this option compared to the one on the left. Now, sometimes you see something like this where year 8, we exercise this option. It's called a reduced paid up. What can happen initially, depending on when the product was started, we see it underperform for a couple of years. Usually we don't see this. We usually see a jump in cash value performance immediately. But in this option, we do see a little bit of a decline, but that's for 5 years. And then what happens? By the 4th year, it's almost even. Then you see the cash value start to pull ahead. So we see $20,000+ down the road. keep in mind her age though, 85 years old. What about the death benefit? You see a big difference initially. What happens if she passes in this time frame? Up until age 80, $100,000 less is left to the beneficiaries. And remember, the death benefit is paid out how? Income tax-free. It's $100,000 tax-free. Like, that's an amount we should be aware of, especially when we look at the age. Now you can scroll down here because this is what people usually like to look at. Eventually the option where I elect more cash value does give me more death benefit long-term too. And the big reason why is because when you look at a life insurance policy, when I hit 100, you'll actually see it with these illustrations, or just about at age 100, look down here. The cash value and death benefit are equal. So the policy with the most cash value long-term is going to deliver the most death benefit long-term as well. But long-term is the key here. What is she comfortable with when she's looking at her age and how much more they have in cash value versus how much more they leave in death benefit? It is a personal decision. What I'll let you know is what this person did decide as of our last review meeting, which was earlier this week. Option A, the higher death benefit. And the reason why is because he looked at the comparison and said, you know, when I see the difference at age 75 or even 80, there's not much more in cash value, and the death benefit is much more valuable to me now. So at 75 years old, like I'm looking at the cash value difference here, and I'm actually ahead with the option to the left. If I look at 80, I'm at 353 compared to 360. The difference is $6,300. I'd give that up in order to ensure that $100,000 more, close to 105, is left in life insurance proceeds to the next generation. Looking at it in this time horizon through age 80. And it goes for a while too. So based on this particular policy, this option made more sense for him. What I would say is if he funds it for a couple more years at $50K per year, then you would see this option likely make a lot more sense, short-term and long-term. So how much we fund the policy with is important. Some people like to approach it that way. In his case, he said, here's what I want to start with, $250. What's the minimum death benefit initially so I can get the most out of my cash value performance? But then moving forward, let's see the options and I'll pick the one that I'm most comfortable with. So I hope that this video was valuable. I do hope that you learned something new. Let us know your thoughts. And if you have any questions, if you are interested in connecting with us, you can check out our website, ibcglobalinc.com, or you can email us or call us directly. And as always, I hope this helps. Thank you so much. Hey guys, Steve here with IBC Global. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you're interested in a whole life insurance policy and you'd like to work with our company in setting it up, please visit our website, ibcglobalinc.com. We would love to work with you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And as always, I hope this helps.